So we've installed TKO and we've registered. Now we're going to open a database and get familiar with all the various modules. We'll go straight to our Systems Manager and we'll have a look here. The Systems Manager is a 7-step approach to just getting familiar with the TKO structure. First of all is the organisational details which we've put in. Second step is key business areas, to setting up the various departments. Key business areas are simply key departments within your organisation, and you can add these, add more to these, you can edit what's there. We give you a sample array to get you started though. Third step is setting up KPIs. Now you may not do this now, but you may eventually get to this where you can assign KPIs to various departments, and this is quite handy. But again, you don't have to do this now or at any stage. Key roles, these are the roles relative to each department, a bit like a sporting team. There are positions on the field. What positions do you have that are critical to running your organisation? So you can create these for your organisation here, and they're aligned to the various departments. Step 5 is setting up key procedures relative to each of these departments. For instance, we've selected accounts receivable. You can see we've got 4 documents. Step 6 is where we set up all our staff and add these into the system, and whereby we can then assign staff to various roles. So we've created the positions on the field, which are our roles. Now we're going to assign staff to those positions. The red crosses indicate that people haven't been assigned. Now we'll come back to our control panel. We'll go straight to policy and procedures, because this is probably the main module that you'll work with. In fact, some people only work in this module because they just want TKO for simply managing their policies and procedures. So it's all really well structured. As you can see on the left hand side, you've got all the structure of the departments. We've also got a search sidebar where you can search for any word in any document. For instance, we'll look for a document with the word bullying in it, because you may want to find a bullying policy which is part of our template. So in this case it's found 3 items, and you just double click on them to take you to those records. So it's very flexible in finding documentation. No more dealing with Microsoft Word where you've got files all over the place. This is in one location. Adding a record is really easy. You simply click Insert New and add a new record into the current location, or you can create a new location. Location meaning department or key business area. Editing a document, you simply click the edit button, bring up the word processor. You can even paste from Word, you can even import from Word if you want to. Deleting a record is simple. You select the record and then select delete. Now let's go back to, but go straight to our roles and job descriptions module. Now again, a bit like a sporting team where you have positions on the field. This is our positions for our sample company here. These are the critical positions of our organisation, and they're laid out here with job descriptions, which makes sense. So you can set up all your roles and job descriptions here, and you can also assign functions to those roles. So for instance, the salesperson will only have functions and policy procedures relative to the sales role, and you can add to these, you can remove them. As you can see on the bottom left hand side, you click on the button and now I can select other various policy procedures to assign to that role. So it's very straightforward. You can also assign people to the role. You can have multiple people attached to a role. So if a role is shared by a number of people, you can easily do that. You can also assign KPIs that you've created for the company as a whole to a role. You can also look at an organisational chart as opposed to the tree view which we have on the left hand side. The tree view is probably better for printed output. It's easier to fit into A4 pages. Okay, so that covers the roles and job descriptions. We've also covered a little bit about KPIs. We'll come back to this at a later stage, but suffice to say that you can create KPIs relative to each department in your business. And the final one, which is probably the critical one, is the publishing. So you've got your content in there, you now want to get it out, and you can get it out via printed manuals, PDF, or you can just preview it to screen. We can just simply now preview this to screen now, just to see what a manual would look like when it's completed. So let's just do a quick build and run. It's very straightforward. You select which modules you want to output. On this occasion we've just selected policies and procedures, and here it is. It's created a manual for us. It's put our logo on the front, and it's done a table of contents for us. You can zoom in, have a look, and you can step through it. Now the other kind of output which I favour as probably the best kind is publishing to a web output, and this is straightforward. You simply select web pages, and what this is doing is creating a website. So far we're just directing it to our local computer. This is the output that it creates. It's a knowledge based style, very handy though for distributing your content and everything you've created in your system for all your staff to see, and they'll just simply access this via their Firefox, Internet Explorer, Safari, or whatever they're using. So that's very easy to use. So we're coming to the end of just the overview. The final thing I'd like to show you is that you can conduct appraisals on staff. So based on the roles that they have been assigned, you can then do an appraisal on them, which you can store for future reference. We'll come back to this at a later stage as well. Again, like all of our modules, you don't have to use them all together. You can pick and choose which modules you need, and you may grow into all the other modules eventually. Some people, as I've mentioned, will simply use policy procedures. There's help files, there's everything there you need to get started. And also there are more tutorials to follow. Thank you very much.